I'm going to throw in about the circle and square.
Yeah, cool.
So the square, for me, years ago I went across Europe. I got to go across Europe with other elders, and there was information that was there that came to me when I thought that our challenges originated back to England. Well, it does, Freemason people, but it goes further back to Catholicism, which is pretty much worldwide known now. So there's a lot of stuff with the papal bulls and everything that's underlying there, but we're not to go into that right now. So when I came back, I asked Creator, because we did a lot of sacred business, said to Creator, what do you want me to do with this information? But I had to put it into and categorise it so that a majority of the human mind and the intellect can comprehend it. And so the easiest way that I came to with Creator was that a square, and that's what BJ was talking about before. So the square is colonisation. There's a beginning and an end, there's a beginning and an end. And in that square, they've created their own rules, regulation, because they come camped on whatever country they camped on. So we're talking about the country known as Australia at the moment, and they've come and they've camped here. We've been here more than 60,000 years, by the way. Been here for a long time. And, you know, we had Gondwanaland, there was another name for it prior to that, when all the waters and everything went in between, the countries were all together. So the square is that, and in that square, they planted squares. They planted square churches on sacred ground. They planted Parliament House on sacred ground. And if we were to carry a square or a rectangular flag at Parliament House, which is, they're claiming it's their sovereign country, so they've planted it there on our sovereign country, and sovereignty is not our word either, it's a colonised word. But if we were to take that flag and enter into the pillars or into the Parliament House, we're declaring war in their square rules. Whole different story when they come and plant their flag on our country. I'm just putting it out there. The other thing is, so we're a circle. Indigenous people and people of the earth are circle people. How I comprehend things, this is where I comprehend. I don't care if anybody disagrees, whatever. It's just an analogy that came to me, and it's an easy analogy for people, for a collective group of people, for the collective, however many, to be able to comprehend easily. Because we've been moving through the planet with consciousness that's been expanding, with everything else that's going on out there, and the intellect has to step outside the box. So they programmed us that our circle, which is our law and Creator's law, our culture law, and it's what we call a mimbari. It's in Yinabara and Kabi language. Mimbari, it's a continuous flow, it just flows. So there's no beginning and end, no beginning and end, it's just a continuous flow. And they've made us believe, programmed the whole planet, that that circle is within the square. So the square, so that means that their rules and regulations in that square from the beginning to the end has more authority over our circle. If you change your perception, because in that circle's our rules. Everything exists in that circle. But if you've ever had the experience of sitting in a circle at a table, or sitting in a circle when you sit around a fire, or just sitting in a circle for having a conversation, a discussion, whatever it is that we're yarning about, and somebody might come in, or somebody's in that circle and feeling out of sorts in themselves, or they might be angry. When you sit in the circle and you've got a fire, and there's everybody else is there for that reason. You know, back in the old day, the old people that used to come into the circle, from how I comprehended, when they come and sit around a fire, the elders, the ancestors, when they used to sit in the fire, they could just come and sit. They didn't have to talk, because all the questions have always got answers. Problems, what colonisation's word is problem, they created another word called solutions, and they will use that in that square. When you sit in the circle, those questions can be answered. The problems are solved without even have to intellectualize them, because country has an ability to dissolve it. Because if it doesn't work, if it's not part of a law, because everything flows in a law, this square has caused a lot of chaos in our planet. But out of chaos comes order. So if you can visualize or change your perception that circle is our law, and that square sits inside the circle, that really doesn't have, it's a whole change of perception. It changes your perception and authority. It doesn't mean you fight against that square in ways that they want us to do in that way. And it's a little bit different what you're doing, but it just means that it's a change of perception. It means that everything is in that circle. It's a mimbery. You can have people from different nations coming together and sitting in that circle, and it'll just work itself out. Because consciousness has everything. Country has a law. There's a divine and natural law, there's cultural law, creator's law, which is everything, and you've got the square law. And one thing that they all got in common is that we're not meant to hurt or harm anybody on any level, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, intuitively, whatever. So when you sort of have that, it goes against that flow. So if you've got somebody that's having a challenge in themselves, and they've come from the square and they're sitting in our circle, guarantee they'll leave a lot better. They sit there and just allow, because that's how we are.